My name is Kambis Kohansal Vajargah from the Austrian Federal Economic Chamber. So I'm actually here from Vienna, Austria. Very happy to be here. And it's a real pleasure to moderate today's fireside chat on the following topic: Borderless Ambitions, how GCCs propel startup scaling. India is home to the majority of global capability centers. That's what GCC stand for. And these centers are rapidly evolving from back offices into real innovation hubs. That creates an enormous opportunity for startups, not just to access talent, sandboxes, and first pilot customers, but to collaborate with corporates and government in shaping the future, our future. I'm delighted to be joined by three outstanding leaders: Sudipta Adhya from Bank of New York, Maureen Kelly Shankar from Societe Generale, and Praveen Roy from the Department of Science and Technology, to explore how GCCs, or also national centers, we're going to go to this as well, can build stronger bridges together. And for kicking off today's panel topic, we're going to start with an introduction by each of the panelists here. And we're going to start with you, Sudipta. So what should the audience know about you?
Thank you. So I work for the Bank of New York. And just as an introduction, we are a custody bank, or as we call it, a trust bank. We manage close to about $60 trillion of assets for our clients. And on a day-to-day basis, we have about $16 trillion of cash and securities moving through our infrastructure. So all in all, we touch about 1/5 of the world's investable securities.
Very nice. Glad to have you here,
Thank you.
Sudipta. Now, let's continue with Maureen. What should we know about you?
Thank you, Kambis. So pleasure to be here today. And Vanakkam, Coimbatore. Nice to be here. Yes. So I am with Societe Generale. This is a French bank, one of the oldest banks in France. And roughly the business is French retail, international retail, and then there's a wholesale banking arm. This is actually our 25th year as a GSC in India, so it's a very big milestone year for us. We're very happy to celebrate this milestone. And me personally, I'm from the US originally. I've always been in finance. That's been my whole career. My connection to India is my husband, so we moved here. I've been here 9 years. And I'm based in Chennai. I am the site head for Societe Generale's location in Chennai. I also, on the business side, I'm on the wholesale banking side, and I run fund services operations. Thank you.
Congratulations. And just before, we heard that you moved to India and you would know, actually don't plan to go back because it's actually marvelous here, yeah? So let's finish our introduction round with Praveen. What should we know about you?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for inviting me and making my department part of this discussions. Like these are really very in a right direction where investments can be supported to the startups and innovative ideas. I'm Praveen Roy. I come from Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. I'm heading the Innovation, Technology Translation and Startup Wing of DST, Department of Science and Technology. And DST has been pioneer in supporting all basic research, applied research, translational research, the startups, different type of funding models. Our programs are more based on academic setups, but certainly we have been trying to create an infrastructure which will be useful for research, deep tech research, and startups in innovative technology domains. So thank you for inviting and making us part of this.
Thank you as well. And let's kick it off with my first question regarding GCCs in general, a new opportunity space. So India is home to the majority of GCCs worldwide. I'm not sure if you have known this, but that's a fact. And GCCs themselves are going through an evolution. What does GCC stand for, and what unique opportunities does it open up today? And I would say let's start with Sudipta.
Thank you. when we think about GCCs, what the word GCC really means is Global Capability Center. And it's interesting to think about the evolution of the word capability, right? Because back in the days when GCCs started off in India, capabilities meant efficiency and cost, right? So GCCs functioned as the back office for their global firms, right, for their headquarters, because something could be done more efficiently and cost efficiently in India. But that has evolved and changed now to move away from cost and efficiency to actually delivering intellectual horsepower, right? India, as we know, has fantastic talent. And the reason why we have GCCs over here today is not just because of the cost, but because we can innovate, we can be a force multiplier for these GCCs, and together with India, they can deliver results that they wouldn't otherwise have been able to deliver, right? In terms of unique opportunities that it opens up, I think it functions two ways, right? One is, what opportunities do GCCs see in India, right? And in my mind, the biggest one really is the talent of India, right? You look across the country, you're going to find incredible talent, but specifically you look at Tamil Nadu, and the kind of talent that you find in Tamil Nadu is incredible. The kind of institutions that you see in Tamil Nadu is absolutely brilliant, right? We are all very close to IIT Chennai, right? That's not probably, but that is the best engineering institution in India, right? And what's the opportunity for us, right? When we think about, careers, when we think about lifestyle, if you compare today versus what was there, 30 years back, 40 years back, a generation ago, it's very different. You wanted to have, a career, a successful career where you got very senior, you would have to think, I should go to the US, I should go to Europe or somewhere else to build my career, right? You would have to be there. That was a typical advice that you would receive. Now you don't have to do that, right? You can spend your entire career in India, get very senior, be at the forefront of imagination, do wonderful things, and have a fantastic standard of living and lifestyle in India. So everything today is possible in India. It's actually possible to be sitting over here and dreaming much more than our fathers and grandfathers could ever do. That's the opportunity for us.
Great opportunity and super insights on this. Let's stick first a bit on the topics of GCCs, now with regards to startups, and I will head over to Maureen. So my next question, GCCs are no longer just back offices, as we've heard, so they're becoming centers of innovation. What can startups expect when they collaborate with GCCs, whether it's to access talent, mentorship, regulatory sandboxes, or first pilot customers? And we have a lot of entrepreneurs and startups here, so I think this will be very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Kambis. So, really all of the above. So, as Sudipta was saying, there has been a really big evolution for GCCs over the past few decades, where now, we're not just cost centers, and actually our parent organizations are expecting that we lead the way with innovation and that we lead transformations as well. Now, I think that GCCs and startups have a lot to learn from each other and ways that we can benefit from each other. Now, when we think of GCCs, of course, we're talking about typically really big multinational corporations. So we have a lot of structure, a lot of discipline, a lot of processes or approaches to things like governance, risk, delivery excellence, et cetera, all very, very strong. On the other hand, with startups, their strengths are really about having that freedom and that space to dream and look at breakthrough kind of cutting edge technologies. So we as GCCs, when we're thinking about how do we drive innovation, working with startups, getting ideas with startups is one such way that we can drive innovation from India. Now, how do we work together? I have seen it, I'm just speaking generally here. I've seen, it really run the gamut all the way from very kind of light touch ways of working together to, much deeper type of relationships. I know that certain GCCs, for example, sometimes even will have venture capital arms, okay? But when we're talking light touch, what does that mean specifically? It can mean something like a GCC hosts an event on a particular topic in an industry. We invite people from the industry, and we have certain fintech companies that we know come and present at this event. So that's something that we have done. And in between that, there's a whole host of other things, as you said, mentorship. So GCCs can work on mentoring startups. And then, what we see other times is that there will be like sandboxes, innovation labs, and ways that GCCs can work with startups where there could be something like a paid POC, a joint effort that they work on together to solve one of the GCC's business problems. So I think there's a number of different ways that GCCs and startups can work together.
Great range of benefits actually for startups. Now we had two panelists focusing more on the global aspect, but we know that Praveen, you are focusing on national centers. So tell us a bit about what are these national centers, what do they do?
Yeah, so whatever we are discussing, like for the GCCs, we have been trying to build that base at NCCs, the National Competence Centers. And this we have been doing for last couple of decades. And through the funding, like we have tried to create these centers in academic setups, because we know like the real innovations, the real research, which may be the applied research, which will be having market potentials and can be commercialized, will be coming from the academic setups. And these academic setups will be requiring these kind of centers, which will be having competence which can compete with the global standards and try to do all the domains that we are now talking. So these centers are already doing their best at present, and they have collaborations with global different centers and different academic setups, so that this can be the startups, the innovations can be taken to the global markets. So far, for the funding, the creation of these centers, almost 200 plus centers have been created in different locations. And in Coimbatore itself, we are having around 10 plus incubators, which are trying to focus on these startups, the innovators, and with the joint programs with global partners, they already have the quality standard which are matching with the global standards, and there have been tie-ups with different countries, bilaterals and multilaterals programs are running. So with these kind of innovative funding, like we have tried to make these centers more competitive and sustainable. So the return on investment that government is putting comes once these centers are sustainable, after the support is over. So we give a support typically of 5 years, and these centers have been sustainable for last 20 years. And with the time, the output, the outcomes that they have generated, the impact they have created, that is the return which government has invested. And so our focus is to create sustainable centers in academic setups, out of academics also, and try to strengthen the national ecosystem for startup, deep tech startups, innovative startups. So anything, any innovative idea, if it is having potential, it should not go waste. And we have to have some kind of support to whatever extent. And there have been very aggressive funding models which government has brought, so that any innovative idea or any innovative research can be supported and taken to the market. So we are just putting all the investments with a good return of investment, like if they are sustaining for long and they are partnering with global centers, so they can prove their worth.
Very good. So both NCC and GCC have relevance, a lot of relevance for the companies, the startups, depending on the stage, and actually they work kind of with each other, depending on the stage of the company. So let's move to the future of GCCs, the generation, and I would be glad if it can be a very, on-point answer. So Sudipta, we have heard they have evolved over time, the GCCs. How do you imagine the next generation of GCCs? What can we expect in the future? What can companies expect in the future?
Yeah. So when we think about transformation, right, even as we speak, that transformation is underway. And this is a very exciting phase for the environment in India, whether it's GCCs or whether it's startups, because when you think about the value that India is giving to these GCCs, along with the advent of advanced technologies like AI, we are at a very exciting juncture where the value is not incrementally increasing, it's exponentially increasing, right? And there's three key drivers to this, right? One is the talent that we have. As I already said, we have best-in-class talent in our country, right? A workforce that understands technology extremely well, a workforce that understands business extremely well. Second, we have an incredible culture, right? We've often used the word jugaad when we think about the Mars mission, right? The cost at which the Mars mission was done out of India was a fraction of what other countries have done. And it's in fact cheaper than some of the movies that other countries have to produce, like a single movie that a country has to produce, right? So when you think about our culture and how we can really execute things efficiently, we are extremely ahead on it. And finally, as I said, technology, right? We are at the forefront of it. As Praveen also mentioned, that's something that the government is also driving along with the industry, and that is giving very tangible results. And bringing this all together is the government, right? And if we just squarely look at Tamil Nadu itself, right, the kind of infrastructure that the government has developed, the policy stability that is there, and the high standard of living that the government is providing to its citizens over here in Tamil Nadu, that's basically allowing this to expand even more than how it has before. And just to end this, something that I remember from an event that I was attending, where I had the privilege of hearing Dr. T.R.B. Raja, where he said that you take a map of Tamil Nadu and you put a finger at any point on the map, and there is incredible development happening there, right? So all across Tamil Nadu, it's exploding in development. And that's the exact opportunity that we have today to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you as well. I want to conclude this panel with a closing question to you, Maureen and Praveen. And we're going to start with you, Maureen. So as we actually conclude, if you had one piece of advice you can give to the audience who dream to scale nationally, globally, through GCC or NCC collaboration, what would it be?
Yes, I think so. For a startup that is looking to scale, one thing that I would advise is to get very honest about the market that you're in. So, don't necessarily think that global is always better, right? So there are plenty of startups who have solutions that solve niche kind of problems, regional sort of problems, and they do phenomenally well. So that's fine. To go global, of course, you need a solution that is solving a more broader-based problem, solving problems that exist in other markets. So I would say first, kind of be radically honest about that. If you think, okay, no, I've got a solution, it's broad-based issue that I'm solving, I want to go global, then I would say, really think about, how you make sure that your investors and your employees kind of early on are global, right? So it'll be easier for you if you want to go global and all of your investors are in India and all of your employees are in India, it's obviously going to be a bit harder. So you need to work on, seeing how you can attract some interest from global investors and having some employees in global locations. You can think about, who would be sort of a good anchor customer in a global location. So that's what I would recommend if you're thinking of going global. As far as working with GCCs, here's one piece of advice that I would give. We've kind of seen this, is that if you are working with a GCC on something like a paid POC or a pilot, just make sure that the team that you have working with them, it's not just pure techies, okay? So if you're working with a GCC, you want to make sure that part of that team would be somebody who has a good amount of domain expertise in whatever sector they're in. And in addition, if there's somebody there that also perhaps a little bit understands how things tend to work at larger organizations, which it can be difficult to appreciate until you've worked for one, but yeah, things have their own way of working and moving within a larger organization. It may not be very obvious to a startup. So if you're looking to work with the GCC, that's my piece of advice for you.
Thank you very much. And Praveen?
I mean, as I told you, like government has been supporting funding startups in the early stages, and first value of death is not an issue at all, because after the launch of government initiative or Startup India initiative in 2016, all the departments are having different programs which are going to support startups in all the domains. So every departments are having some programs which are sector specific to their department. Otherwise, sector agnostic support is there. So we don't have any challenge at the early stage and till TRL 4 and 5. But we know, like after TRL 5 and 6, there again is a value of death which is to be addressed, and just to try to focus and support in that domain. New funding scheme which is going to come is research, development and innovation, which is having a $12.5 billion budget for 5 years. And 2.5 billion already has been earmarked for the Department of Science and Technology to be given for investments. And we know, like, we'll not be able to monitor it very well, because so we want to partner with the industry, the VCs. 50% fund will be given by the government, and 50% is expected to come from the private sector and the VCs. So with this, we expect, like any domain which is domain-wise, there is no issues. Like this scheme will be focusing on 5 sunrise sectors, which will be covering deep tech, AI, energy, climate action, and biotechnology. All the sunrise sectors have been covered in this domain. Apart from these sunrise 5 sectors, any other sector which is which requires some kind of intervention and investments, that can also be roped in. So these sectors, we have a quantum mission. So we have hubs, we have created centers which can focus in 4 dimensions in quantum computing, quantum communication, sensors and materials. So this is the focus, like we are trying to pitch in all the domains, the high tech, the current tech and deep tech and domains which can be supported through different missions. Government is having AI mission, semiconductor mission. So just it is like trying to focus on the infrastructure part, going for the GCCs type of setups, and then providing funding to the innovative startups at all the levels. Even though it is partial, but with partnering with the VCs, that kind of funding can be given, and there is no limit in that kind of funding if it is a deep tech domain. So I think, like with this focus, strengthful centers and aggressive funding, we will be having scale-up support for all the startup in all the domains.
Thank you very much for these great insights, for these valuable insights for us, for the audience. Also, thank you for your flexibility. Thank you, Sudipta, Maureen, and Praveen. And I hope you can share a big applause for our panelists today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.